live from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Good evening. Today is the 17th of June and this is the National News Broadcast coming to you live on ChannelEye Rupavahini. I'm Winhet Tiarachi, joined together with Sharifa Tahir. At first, a look at the headlines. A decision taken to limit calling public servants to office for 2 weeks. The People's Bank issues letters of credit to purchase 300,000 barrels of petrol. The President instructs to take steps to distribute fuel stocks methodically among filling stations. The Prime Minister says his policy is not to keep anyone in hunger amidst a food crisis. The Subject Minister says the rumours of giving the East Terminal at the Colombo Harbour to Adani Group are false. The Australian Energy Minister requests customers to switch off lights for 2 hours. Now on to those and more stories in detail. On today's top story, the Ministry of Education has announced today that conditional relief measures for teachers taking into consideration the difficulties in transport. Accordingly, the teachers will be temporarily assigned to schoolers nearest to their place of residence. The appointments will be effective until the 31st of December. It is also stressed that temporary appointments should be made with written sanctions of the principals of both schools without hindering the academic activities. The provisional directors of education are authorized to make temporary appointments between the national school or provincial schools and national schools located within the same province. It is proposed to appoint teachers to provincial schools located in 2 provinces under the approval of the secretaries of the Provincial Public Service Commission. The appointments to the national schools located in 2 provinces will be made by the Director of Education at the Education Ministry. If the temporary transfer is for an additional teacher at a school, a substitute teacher is not required to be appointed. However, if it is not an additional teacher, the transfer should be made after appointing a substitute teacher.
The government has decided to limit calling of officials to state offices for 2 weeks. The Ministry of Public Administration said that the decision was taken due to the limits in supplying of fuel, public transport difficulties and problems related to travelling using a private vehicle.
The Ministry of Public Administration said that the decision was taken due to the limits in supplying fuel. The relevant circular was issued today. It has been implemented from the 20th, apart from the Friday of the week that had been announced by the State Administrative Circular 15-2022. The relevant ministry secretaries and the heads of organizations have been entrusted with calling the essential staff for services to maintain services without interruption. Attaching the officer of the ministry, department or an institution to the nearest ministry, department, institution or any other place close to the residence of that official. A shift duty system or another proper methodology should be followed when calling a minimum number of employees for work. The circular has said if an officer did not report for work on a date, he should report and that the date should be deducted from the personal leave of that officer. All public officials should be prepared to work on the line on a date that he was not summoned for work according to the shift duty system or a proper methodology followed by to call for service. The circular has stated the necessary steps should be taken by holding discussions with the heads of state institutions in the area, by holding discussions with the SLTB to call officials to state officials in the area. It has been said instructions should be given to officials who are coming to service to use public transport services and to provide transport facilities with expenditure management by using vehicle pools for officials residing near the offices or staying temporarily near the offices. The Digital Services Commission will give instructions for calling officials for the institutions under the digital sector. The circular has said Financial Ministry Secretary should be consulted for necessary instructions for implementing provisions of the circular for state enterprises, and it should not be an obstacle to maintain the essential services of the government. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has directed the relevant authorities to methodically distribute the existing fuel consignments as well as stocks expected to arrive in the coming days to filling stations around the island.
The directives were given at a special discussion held at the President's house in Colombo this morning. The President said the Central Bank of Sri Lanka and the Finance Ministry, along with state and privately owned banks, should make plans to open letters of credit to place necessary purchase orders for the procurement of fuel. Special attention should be paid on the possibility to sign agreements to purchase fuel on a long-term basis from the suppliers. Public transport will get priority when distributing fuel. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa instructed officials to take steps to issue fuel to private and tourist buses and school vans under the supervision of police from the filling stations of the SLTB. Fuel should be issued continuously for other essential services from identified filling stations. It was decided to provide Army and Special Task Force protection to filling stations. The President instructed security authorities to take strict legal action against those who gather fuel stocks unnecessarily. Attention was paid on distributing gas stocks methodically and ordering sufficient gas stocks soon. Ministers Kanchana Wijesekara, Tiran Alas, Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, President's Secretary Gamini Senarath and heads of security forces, fuel, electricity and gas took part in the discussion. Pakistan High Commissioner, retired Major General Umar Farooq, says that this government will give its full support to Sri Lanka to solve the economic crisis. The High Commissioner mentioned this when he met President Gotabaya Rajapaksa today at the President's house in Colombo. The President thanked Pakistan government for providing medicines selected as humanitarian assistance and offering scholarships for Sri Lankan students for higher education. The President briefed the High Commissioner about the economic crisis faced by the country. The Pakistan High Commissioner said that he believed Sri Lanka would become normal soon.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says his policy is not to keep anyone in hunger amidst a food crisis.
The Prime Minister mentioned this when the Committee on Food Security met at the Prime Minister's office this morning. The Prime Minister instructed to take necessary measures to control the situation as 1 million to 5 million people can be directly affected by a food crisis. He gave instructions to officials to pay special attention on small children and elders. The Prime Minister asked to appoint a committee headed by MP Nimal Lanza to face the food crisis and to appoint Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva and MP Harsha de Silva and representatives of the Presidential Secretariat, Finance Ministry, Agriculture Ministry, Army and private organizations to the committee. He informed the officials to provide him with plans within 2 weeks made by the committee. The Prime Minister said that under the Food Security Programme, 225 divisions should be given to parliamentarians to provide leadership to take 336 divisional secretariat areas for development targets and the rest to ministry secretaries, higher officials and the private sector. The Prime Minister said those who are at the divisional secretariats after getting graduate appointments should be attached to the programme. He instructed to give priority to issue fuel for the fisheries community and to agriculture industries. Special attention should be paid on children's and elders' homes and homes with disabled persons. The Prime Minister pointed out the need for a long-term and medium-term plan for a modern agriculture system for a competitive regional market. Ministers Mahinda Amaraveera, Nalin Fernando, Ramesh Pathirana, Prasanna Ranatunga, former ministers, parliamentarians and a group of people attended the discussion.
Meanwhile, the People's Bank has issued a letters of credit to purchase 300,000 barrels of 92-octane petrol.
It is reported that value of the stock is $42.6 million. Minister Kanchana Wijesekara said that unloading of 40,000 metric tons of diesel commenced last night from the ship that brought the stock. The minister said that stock of fuel was not distributed today. Long queues were seen near Bandaragama Cooperative Filling Station today. However, it has not received fuel so far. Issuing of fuel at Mirihana Jubilee Post Filling Station commenced today after 2 days. Priority has been given for essential services and tension occurred when police officers were given fuel. People charged that fuel finished as Mirihana police officers allowed people known to them
to arrive in private vehicles and to get fuel. Thereafter, they blocked the road from Jubilee Post Junction demanding fuel. They dispersed only after inspecting fuel tanks of the filling station. Long queues were seen near the filling station in Bandaragama town. A group of people engaged in a protest by blocking the road accusing a fuel station in Anuradhapura New Town was hiding and not issuing fuel. People said although the app introduced by the Petroleum Corporation mentioned that fuel will be issued, the filling station was not issuing fuel. Badulla Nuwareliya road was blocked due to the vehicles that came to Valimada town to get fuel. People in Vaunia town conducted a protest this morning, blocking Jaffna Kandy A9 road demanding fuel. A tense situation occurred when the police tried to disperse the protesters. Police arrested 2 protesters. After the police announced that they would be released, people allowed the vehicles to move and stop the protest. Bus owners engaged in a protest demanding fuel for buses that commenced from Kottava Junction while protesting against issuing fuel for luxury buses that commenced from Kottava Makumbara Multi-Model Transport Centre. Thereafter, Homagama OIC and Project Director of the Transport Ministry held a discussion with the drivers. The protest has ended after taking steps to issue 50 litres of fuel to a bus on the instructions of the Transport Minister. The filling station in Bandaravala Badulla Road has received fuel this afternoon. People who were there took steps to remove the groups who attempted to get fuel by skipping the queues, which were 3 kilometers long. A tense situation arose when Laughs Gas Company tried to take 6,600 litres of diesel for company lorries without distributing it among the people. Thereafter, police intervened to control the situation and to distribute fuel. Tension prevailed among customers who came to purchase fuel from Badulla Cooperative Filling Station as fuel was not issued to cans. Bandaravala Filling Station received fuel yesterday. However, a large group of people have not been able to purchase fuel. The Private Bus Owners Association said about 20% of buses were operated today. Distribution of Litro gas commenced with a limit from this morning. Litro Gas Company said although 38.5 kilogram gas cylinders are distributed, domestic gas cylinders will not be distributed. Distribution of Laughs gas cylinders to the customers in Nuwareliya Municipal Council limit took place today at the racecourse. Long queues were seen near Laughs Gas Centre in Vadua town due to information that Laughs gas is issued today.
On more local stories, Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva says that the rumours stating Eastern Terminal of the Colombo Harbour will be given to Adani Group are false. He mentioned this during a media briefing today. Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva said that measures have been taken to get Eastern Terminal under the Ports Authority. Although payments have been delayed, it is not a measure to hand over the terminal to Adani. An open tender has been called for work on the Eastern Terminal and a Chinese company has been given a contract. 35% of the contract has to be paid in dollars. Despite the difficulties, the payments have been made and the work of the terminal is taking place. Samaki Janabalawegaya says that the present government has no plans to revive the economy.
MP Kavinda Jardana said that the government has not been able to find any solutions for the fuel crisis. MP Kavinda Jardana said that the government says discussions are taking place to get another $500 million. The country spends $500 million monthly for fuel consumption, but the Prime Minister says fuel for $500 million will be purchased for 4 months. How can fuel be provided to power plants and vehicles if $500 million of fuel is purchased for 4 months when the quantity is needed for 1 month? JVP Political member Lal Kanta says that the groups who ruled the country after independence should be held responsible for the present crisis.
He also mentioned this while addressing a summit of Inter-Company Employees Union in Colombo. JVP Politburo member Lal Kanta said that the reason to name Basil is for them to be free. But they were in the cabinet and they should be held responsible. Another group says it is a pet problem of 2.5 years. They include Sajid Premadasa, Ranil Wickramasinghe and Champika Ranabaka. They are trying again to deceive the people and come back to power.
Minister Manushanana Agar says that no parties are able to find speedy solutions to the prevailing fuel crisis. The minister mentioned this during a function at the Sri Lanka Foreign Employment Bureau yesterday. Minister Manushanana Agar said that the country is recovering. Although there are queues, there is hope. The country will be in a better situation in about another 3 weeks. It will take at least another 3 months to normalize the situation. Former President Maithripala Sirisena says solutions to the prevailing crisis is an all-party government.
He mentioned this during a media briefing at Sri Lanka Freedom Party office today. Former President Maithripala Sirisena said that if another government is established as the way they suggest, this problem can be solved within a short period of time. An all-party government should be formed with a 15-member cabinet and a general election should be held. There is an international opinion which states they would support a new government following a general election. In the meantime, Sri Lanka won the second one-day international match with Australia by 26 runs according to Duckworth and Lewis method.
Accordingly, both teams have won one match apiece. The match was played at Pallekele International Stadium. Australia won the toss and invited Sri Lanka to bat first. Danushka Gunathilaka and Pathum Nisanka opened the Sri Lankan innings. When the opening partnership was 26, Pathum Nisanka was dismissed for 14. Danushka Gunathilaka scored 18. Thereafter, Kusal Mendis and Dhananjay De Silva built a partnership of 61 runs for the third wicket. Dhananjay was out for 34 as the third wicket. Kusal Mendis scored 36. Charita Salanka was dismissed as 13, Chamika Karunaratne for 18. Dasun Chanaka scored 34 with 5 boundaries. Jeffrey Van der Sey was out for 7 as the 8th wicket for Sri Lanka. Dunit Vellalage scored 20 with 1 boundary and 1 6. When Sri Lanka was out for 9 down for 220 wickets at 47.4 overs, rain interrupted play. Pat Cummins took 4 wickets for 35 runs. After the rain, match resumed, giving the target of 216 in 43 overs for Australia. David Warner and Aaron Finch commenced the Australian innings. Finch was at 14 for the first wicket. David Warner scored 37. Stephen Smith was out for 28 runs off the bowling of Chamika Karunaratne. Travis Head was out for 23 and Manus Labuschagne was out for 18. Glenn Maxwell was dismissed for 30 as the Australia's 6th wicket. Australia was all out for 189 in 37.1 overs. Chamika Karunaratne took 3 wickets for 47 runs. Dhananjay De Silva, Dushman Chamira, Dunit Vellalage took 2 wickets each. Chamika Karunaratne was the man of the match.
Australia ඉනිම ආරම්භ කළේ ඩේවිඩ් වෝනර් සහ ලකුණු 14කට දැවී ගියා. ඩේවිඩ් වෝනර් ලකුණු 37යි. එම කඩුව
Australian player Ashton Agar says he is happy to take part in a match tour in Sri Lanka.
He pointed out that hospitality of Sri Lankans are at a high level. Ashton Agar was born in 1993 in Australia. He is a player of Sri Lankan origin. His mother is Sonia Hevavesa, and who was born in Kandy. His father is Nala Hevavesa. Ashton Agar's mother is married John Agar in 1974 and migrated to Australia. This is the first time Ashton Agar toured the country, and he has gone to his grandmother's house during the series.
Your family is from these parts, Kandy.
Yeah, I'm so very happy to be here. It's my first time in Sri Lanka, and my grandfather was born right here in Kandy. I visited his house the other day with some relatives that are still here. My mother grew up in Colombo, so to be here for the first time and really feel connected to a place is so special, and I mean the hospitality has been unbelievable.
And how's it been playing cricket in front of these people? I'm sure you'll be feeling the love.
We're feeling the love. All you have to do is look around. The crowd is singing and dancing, you know, the band is playing. It's such a happy crowd, a knowledgeable crowd as well, and I think everyone's just really happy to have great cricket here in Sri Lanka.
Your aunt said that you love the hoppers.
I love the hoppers. My grandmother used to make them. My brothers and I, we would eat them every day if we could. So as soon as we got to the hotel in Colombo, I was telling the boys, you got to eat the egg hoppers, you eat the string hoppers, all of this stuff, you know. So it's nice to relive that and experience it.
Any other plans of visiting other parts of Sri Lanka? We're taking you to a wonderful part of the world that's down to Galle.
Well, my wife is actually here with me at the moment, so we're really excited to see Galle for the test matches, and then after that maybe we'll try and extend it for a week or so. I'd love to see Aragon Bay. Spend some time by the beach.
That's the surfing joint for those who don't know Arugambe, so you're a surfer.
Oh, well, I know Mitch Marsh is the big surfer, and he said he might teach me, so maybe we'll try and visit there.
And yes, enjoy it and take the message back that there's surfing available, the hospitality, the food, that it's good fun out here.
Oh, it's just such a beautiful country, so and we've been looked after so well, so we really appreciate it here.
Continuing with more stories here at home, Land and Agricultural Committee of the Professionals Association has decided to present short-term recommendations for the agriculture sector to be immediately implemented.
A discussion in this regard under the patronage of Agriculture Minister Mahinda Amaraveera took place yesterday at the headquarters of the Professionals Association. The committee has pointed out that the paddy harvest has reduced by 40%. The fertilizer issue has affected other crop sectors. The association has proposed that several measures should be given priority to prevent the situation becoming acute. They have said that while supplying inorganic fertilizer, steps should be taken to promote the use of organic fertilizer and to supply high-quality seeds to farmers. They have emphasized that the mechanism for low-cost packaging should be guaranteed to minimize post-harvest damage in transportation. They have also pointed out the strict quality standards should be followed when issuing pesticides to the market. The proposals has said innovation should be promoted through local technology and scientific research. Mahinda Amaraveera said that there is sufficient quantity of seeds at present. Director General of Agriculture Department said that the necessary quantity of seed has been issued. People have also commenced cultivating.
Marking of GCE ordinary level examination papers has commenced, with the government agreeing to grant demands of teachers and principals.
Commissioner General of Examinations LMD Dharmasena said that steps have been taken to mark the answer scripts without obstructions. Commissioner General of Examination NLMD Dharmasena said that trade unions were satisfied and they should give the necessary support. There are problems, but they should not be allowed to affect the future of the children. He said that he thanked the leaders of trade unions for their support. We'll be back with foreign news after a short break.
ඉතින් මහත්තයෝ මොනවද අලුත් තොරතුරු එන?
දැන් ආපහු රට පුරාම ඩෙන්ගු අවදානම තියෙනවනේ. මදුරුවන්ට බිත්තර දාන්න පුළුවන් වෙන විදියට වතුර එකතු වෙන තැන් පරිසරයට නිතර එකතු වීම තමයි මේකට තියෙන ලොකුම ගැටලුව. තමුන්ගේ දරුවෝ ගැන හිතලා, අසල්වාසීන් ගැන හිතලා, තමුන්ගේ ගෙවත්ත පිරිසිදුව තියාගන්නවා නම් මේ ගැටලු හුඟක් අපට විසඳ ගන්න පුළුවන්.
Welcome back. We continue with news overseas now. Taking a look at an update from Ukraine. Since the Russian army attacked Ukraine nearly 4 months ago, thousands of civilians have been killed and whole towns reduced to rubble while millions of Ukrainians have fled their homes.
But on Thursday, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov stated that things were not as they seemed. We didn't invade Ukraine, he claimed. We declared a special military operation because we had absolutely no other way of explaining to the West that dragging Ukraine into NATO was a criminal act. Since Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24th, Mr. Lavrov has given only a few interviews to the Western media. He repeated the official Kremlin line that there were Nazis in Ukraine. Russian officials often claim that they are demilitarizing the country. Mr. Lavrov caused an uproar recently when he tried to justify the Nazi slur regarding the Ukraine's president, who is Jewish, by making a ridiculous claim that Adolf Hitler had Jewish blood. 2 American volunteers in Ukraine have gone missing and are feared to have been taken prisoner by Russia, officials and family members said on Wednesday.
Moving on to more stories in terms of international news, Australia's Energy Minister has urged households in New South Wales, a state that includes the country's biggest city, Sydney, to switch off their lights in the face of an energy crisis. Chris Bowen says people should not use electricity for 2 hours every evening if they have a choice. However, he added he was confident that blackouts could be avoided. It comes after Australia's main wholesale electricity market was suspended because of a surge in prices. Mr. Bowen asked people living in New South Wales to conserve as much power as possible. If you have a choice about when to run certain items, don't run them from 6 to 8 in the evening, he said during a televised media conference in Canberra. Australia is one of the world's biggest exporters of coal and liquefied natural gas, but has been struggling with the power crisis since last month. 3/4 of the country's electricity is still generated using coal. It has long been accused of not doing enough to cut its emissions by investing in renewable. In recent weeks, Australia has felt the impact of disruptions to coal supplies, outages at several coal-fired power plants and soaring global energy prices.
Now on to sports news. Cricket is in full swing in the island. An inter-cricket match tournament held by Sri Lanka Cricket was won by Sri Lanka Army against the Qualls in Pisara Stadium recently.
Batting first, the Army scored 139 for 9 wickets in 20 overs. Sikuge Prasanna highest scored with 29 runs. Dhananjaya Lakshan took 3 wickets. Chasing a victory target of 140, Coles were all out for 94 runs. Sangeet Kure scored 38, Sikuge Prasanna and Lakshan Edrisinghe took 3 wickets each. Australia A team won the first 4-day match by 68 runs against Sri Lanka. Australia A team scored 379 runs in the first innings and 212 in the second innings. Sri Lanka team was all out for 244 runs. Sri Lanka was given a target of 318 runs for the victory. However, Sri Lanka was all out for 249 runs. Sri Lanka's short distance runner Yupunabe Kon came 5th of the 100 meters event at the Diamond League Athletics Championship. He completed the race in 10.16 seconds. Andre de Grazi of Canada won the first place with a timing of 10.05 seconds.
That's it for tonight's English News Telecast. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Have a pleasant night.